Welcome to Mr. X. Get ready for some serious knowledge. So let's talk about our first place winner, Cunningham the dog. This dog had just fallen into a deep well, with its two front paws holding a stone head next to the well. Its cute eyes were looking at the photographer, as if they were in pity. Please help me. I'm not sure what to do. However, because the dog couldn't move and was sliding underwater, it swam underwater for a few seconds and then encountered a piece of stone that was very strong. It could be seen that the dog might have been dizzy for a few hours if it hadn't thought of doing it again. The dog would probably have completely exhausted its energy and drowned. Fortunately, the nearby residents saw it. They then set up a rescue hotline, connected the safety wires to the manpower, and let Lieutenant General Dog enter the net, successfully rescuing it. This scene moved everyone on the scene. The rescued dog was immediately sent to the rescue station. After checking, its 4 claws had already caught the blood marks and were very weak. Through careful consideration, the dog finally regained its normal vitality. Second curiosity, the ghost chicken. The chicken's head was cut off and it was completely dead. The chicken, which had lost its head, could still stand and run, and even tried to peck at it. Originally, the host's coronary artery and brain tissue were completely intact. The farmer discovered that it had not died and used a drip to inject food directly into its exposed esophagus. After that, this headless chicken, called only Macaroni, began to be shown off by the master every time, but after 18 months, the master forgot to clean it and choked on it. Did you hear that there are 2 dogs? After the upper body of the chick was removed, it was transplanted into the body of another adult dog. By keeping the nerves and blood vessels connected, both heads can eat and react independently. The project was initiated by Soviet scientist Farid Miller in 1954 and is considered the basis of modern organ transplant technology. However, the 2-headed dog died 29 days after the operation, and its body was sent to the medical museum. Have you ever seen the dangerous lizard that spits blood? When they encounter danger, the blood pressure in their heads can suddenly increase, causing the small blood vessels in their eyes to rupture, and then spray the blood with special chemicals that are harmful to humans. The blood from their piercing nose can be used to intimidate predators such as wolves. However, the cost of these self-preservation measures is enormous, and excessive blood loss can even be life-threatening. Not only do lizard trees bleed, but when a tree is injured, a large amount of resin leaks out and seals the wound, similar to blood clots in humans. These resins are rich in monoacids and other compounds, which can prevent attacks from insects, bacteria and fungi and prevent infections. In non-state traditional medicine, people even use this type of resin to treat wounds. Third curiosity, the dog Cunningham. If the dogs fall into the water and cannot be rescued in time, their lives may be in danger. The situation was like this. In an industrial zone in Thailand, some unorganized workers were using money to repair the roads and were randomly dumping garbage on the ground. A stray dog named Cunningham was wandering around the industrial zone in search of food to eat. However, instead of surviving that day, a cruel joke happened, and Ma unintentionally pushed him into a pile of thick, sticky sludge, sinking deeper and deeper until his entire body was covered in the sticky toxic mixture, with only his mouth still exposed to the outside, making it difficult to breathe. A minute and a second passed before he was left there without help, and the commotion around him was far away. At that time, he was discovered by local residents. Faced with such a situation, Subaru called for emergency help. Quickly, the emergency service team arrived at the scene. They used a bulldozer and timidly dug up the mud around Molly. At the same time, workers from a nearby factory also offered their help. They took some diesel and soaked the horse in the foam to remove the stickiness from his body. After 2 brief moments of tense rescue, Molly was finally safely rescued. His whole body was shaking, his breathing was also rapid, and a glimmer of the rest of his life shone in his eyes. A veterinarian who treated the horses commented that people need to be more cautious when treating pests, and that they can cause serious injuries to animals. If anyone could find him, he would die early. Mari's story quickly spread to all the industrial zones. People were moved by his strength and good fortune, and also praised those who selflessly offered their support. After experiencing this life-or-death experience, Molly seemed to value life even more. He no longer enjoyed the 4-way ride he had before, and instead found a cozy refuge. Fourth curiosity, fat is a stealthy threat. Basic understanding of the entire process of lipogenesis. You put food in your mouth, where it is mechanically broken down by chewing and then consumed by saliva. In this initial stage, food travels through the edema tube to the stomach, where gastric juice breaks the food down into smaller components. This partially digested food leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine, where it is absorbed into the bloodstream and, together with nutrients, is transported to cells throughout the body. Eating too much glucose can reverse the fat production process and turn it into fat. Synthetic glucose in adipose tissue is stored in fat cells. Adjust according to the body's energy needs. The balance between intake and consumption in the car determines that most of the excess energy is stored as fat and used as energy input. If the cardiovascular system exceeds the needs of daily functions and physical activities, this leads to weight gain and fat accumulation over time. Therefore, by using a card that requires less physical effort than the one you put in, you will be able to produce less heat and, in fact, lose weight. Fifth curiosity, the hand cannon. I have always been curious about how ancient cannons were fired. Their practical principle is not repeatable. First, insert the incendiary device into the gun, stick it in a tightly packed and sealed loaded arrangement, and then load the gun again carefully, stick it in place using the rod to push the gun into the correct position to ensure continuous operation. When everything was ready, the fire brigade would be called immediately, and the incendiary cannon would be fired with a bang. The cannon would erupt in flames instantly, carrying its powerful force directly to strike the target. What? If it is a grenade launcher, what else will it fire? The gun head was inserted into the firing disc, and the adhesive hammer was fixed in place by a screw. When the gun was fired, the hammer would hit the flint, throwing off sparks. These sparks would ignite the incendiary chamber of the gun. Then, the incendiary agent was introduced through the fire hole into the main drug area, and the incendiary agent behind the grenade was ignited. The enormous energy generated by the incendiary flames was like a grenade firing the tail of a gun. At the same time, the grenade's timed ignition cable would start to burn and explode when it reached the target area. Sixth curiosity, the Basilica Buffaloes. At the Basilica of St. Joseph, some police officers ride buffaloes on their daily patrols. They are the only buffalo cavalry police force in the world. For the past 23 years, these police officers and their Asian buffalo comrades have patrolled the marshes, redwood forests and numerous rivers to maintain peace and order on the island. There is not a trace of buffaloes in Malaga. They are not only the companions of the police and patrol officers of the Corps, but also an important part of the lives of the people on the island. On the beach in Perugia, a buffalo named after a warrior came to their aid. Every day, celebrities earn a small fortune from their hosts. As for the origin of the buffaloes, there are two versions of the story passed down on the island, one of them about the luck they had after being lost at sea. These Asian buffaloes were accidentally brought to this island and inhabited it. They were dragged into this land by force or objects by large landowners. In the swamps and redwood forests, buffaloes showed their unique advantages. They can easily cross flooded and wild areas to avoid mosquito attacks and become the most important companions of the police. On flat terrain, these are large buffaloes. They could even follow orders at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour, allowing criminals to escape without any problems. This is how the Buffalo Cavalry was born. They use the unique abilities of buffaloes to dive into swamps and rivers, attack crimes and protect the safety of residents. It looks like this is the end. Leave your opinion in the comments about the video and what I can improve.